After 1 year on YouTube, I've realized my problem is not burnout or lack of niche. It's that I'm too much of a normie for this place sometimes. Here's the thing. I look for solutions instead of sympathy, and apparently, that's not very algorithm friendly. I could complain about not being monetized as soon as I'd like, especially comparing to other creators, but maybe it's more of an uphill battle for someone who refuses to claim AI is the Antichrist, the 9 to 5 is slavery, or that there are no good women out there, or that life in general is pointless. You see, I didn't start this channel back when it was called Henry's Stream of Consciousness to feed the doom cycle. I started it to see what would happen when a guy who's stuck living with his parents in his late 20s chooses to work with what he's got and does something more than just sit at home and play video games. But before I get into all that, be sure to give this video a like. Comment what you think about all this, whether you agree that I'm a little too much of a normie or that I refuse to be a doomer. Subscribe for cultural commentary and rants from a man caught between generations who, again, refuses to feed the doom cycle. And last but certainly not least, feel free to join me at the Zillennial Nexus Point Discord. Link will be in the description below. Anyway, a year ago today, I posted my first video on this channel. I should have stuck with learning karate. It wasn't really about the martial arts as much as it was about realizing I gave up on something that could have grounded me, because it was inspired by Cobra Kai, which I was watching through at the time, and it made me feel that regret. But it also planted my lifelong theme of agency over apathy. Because, like I've said in another video, there's always a choice. That video was my first sign I wasn't built to doom scroll, I was built to self correct. Another video I did titled Getting Out of the House was me trying to break the routine before I turned my house into a content bunker for the tail end of 2024 and the majority of 2025. Yeah, I fell into a Raymond thoughts and mind grind with daily uploads and pure introspection, trying to get monetized as quick as possible, and because I thought, if he can do it, so can I. It was productive, but claustrophobic. I was venting instead of evolving. I thought if I showed up every single day, I'd be getting 4-digit view counts in the first hour by this point in the year, and enough money to replace what I make at the instant gratification job. Unfortunately, that is not what happened. And again, I think it's because I'm a little too normal, or I'm not willing to go full doom and gloom. Anyway, I'm really glad that I started going out more and going to Mugar Omni theater films like Space the New Frontier, because I discovered the NASA approach, as I've mentioned, and did a whole video about. Yeah. A year ago today, my biggest obstacle was my mom cleaning when I wanted to cook or needed to use the bathroom. Now it's just a matter of figuring out when I can go out on my adventures on a weekday now, because I want to do more of that. For most of last year, I was choosing fear. Fear of change, chaos, of breaking routine. Then I finally chose love. Love for experience, curiosity, and motion. And choosing not to raise my cortisol levels every Sunday by just sitting at home and getting frustrated every time I wanted to use the kitchen or needed to use the bathroom. Yeah, you remember Jim Cunningham's whole fear versus love thing from Donnie Darko? Yeah, he was a fraud and a creep. But the framework of fear versus love was not entirely wrong. See, contrary to what Donnie said, sometimes life is that simple. Obviously, not everything, but more than the doomers make it out to be. A lot of the time, you either choose fear or love. I chose fear for most of this channel's first year, like I said earlier, with staying home, focusing on quantity of videos over quality, sticking to an unnecessary schedule, and blaming the algorithm when I wasn't achieving monetization numbers with just a few videos. Again, like other creators I've seen out there who I'm not going to call out by name, but after going through that for 7 to 8 months or so, again, after the testing of going out there in July and August, September is when I really committed with changing the Saturday movie system and going every weekend, and then eventually signing up for the museum and aquarium memberships when it started to get colder out so that I have somewhere indoors to retreat to. You get the idea. Rather than choose fear by sitting at home and getting frustrated when I'm either struggling to record, struggling to come up with video ideas, or getting annoyed when my mom is cleaning and I can't do what I wanted to do. Instead of choosing fear by staying home and doing that, I chose love by going out, by exploring the city, and finding joy in things that I can do outside the house. I chose to start trying new things like Boston's transit system, AMC. Okay, there is a bit of familiarity involved with the aquarium and the museum. But hey, like the Do More Stuff ad says, binge real life, not TV. Because choosing love means showing up. Fear just makes excuses like, you never know who else will be on public transit. Like this guy called Keith Carpenter, whose channel I've muted in my feed because he was way too harsh on people who take public transportation. And I can respect if he's willing to pick up his son or daughter so that they don't have to take public transportation. But at the same time, he also needs to recognize that not everyone can drive, and frankly, if you have access to a public transit system, why would you want to drive? Car dependency really is part of the problem with the death of community, but that's a topic for another day. Fear also would include excuses like, you have to wake up so early, or it costs so much. I mean, $10 for unlimited commuter rail transportation on the weekend. It's a pretty good deal. 240 per subway ride. Yeah, that's not too much in the grand scheme of things, and depending on how much I use it, it's probably cheaper than owning and maintaining a car. You let me know in the comments if there's any way to figure that out. So yeah, I'm too much of a normie for YouTube. I choose love over fear where I can, but sometimes I do succumb to fear because I'm not perfect. Whether it's taking the early train home after Buzzkill Lightyear ruined the theater experience for me, and ruminating on whether I should keep the Saturday movie like this, or when I was called Jeffy's bad word by that guy at South Station, or when the museum felt overcrowded on the Sunday before the federal holiday on the second Monday of October. But yeah, in all those instances, I chose love by simply going to only one movie on Saturday, the official Saturday movie, at the earliest possible showtime to minimize the risk of having to deal with clowns like Buzzkill Lightyear. And I've even been going back into South Station to, one, load my Charlie card with value for the day, and for later on, in case I need to take the bus for whatever reason. And I've been buying food there again, because I'm aware the South Station confrontation, as I've called it, was a one off instance. And then when I went to the museum the weekend after the federal holiday on the second Monday of October, and I went right when they opened, it actually wasn't that crowded. No, I take it back. It was still crowded, but it wasn't overcrowded. Let's just say I got a more comfortable seat at the Riverview Cafe for lunch. compared to the previous Sunday. Anyway, the point is, I can't play the outrage game here on YouTube because eventually I choose love in all the ways that I just described it and explore ways that I can time max, like exploring the Causeway Street Star Market for cheaper snacks after feeling like it was way too crowded at the museum, as well as exploring where non-refrigerated groceries are so I can buy some of those when I'm there and bring them home on the subway and train so that when I go out on the weekdays, I only have to get the refrigerator frozen stuff if I have a ride home. Again, I do not think I'm better than anyone. I understand some of the doomers online might have serious issues they need to work out in private. I'm just refusing to sell hopelessness as personality, which I could totally do by complaining nonstop about feeling crowded at home by my mom, especially because she moved her work from home setup into the room next to mine after my brother moved out. However, I'm not going to do that. Instead, even if the black pillars think it's all a cope, your trips to the city, yeah, maybe it is a bit of a cope. But you know what? I enjoy it. I'm going to keep doing it. And I'm going to expand into the weekdays and save some money by using the bus rather than the commuter rail. Because the bus and subway is way cheaper. Here's the thing. I can't control where she puts her work from home setup. I mean, I can protest, but she's probably going to cite my house, which it is. But I can control if I decide to take on the weekdays one of the bus routes to the Orange Line available to me and go from there to the museum or aquarium if her working from home bothers me that much. I'll partially blame the algorithm for not rewarding my kind of content, but I take full responsibility for choosing love over fear. Here's the thing. I'd rather show people what happens when you find something you enjoy and keep doing that, rather than milk what happens when you can't cope. So for year 2 of this channel, I'm doubling down on the boring stuff. Solutions, trade-offs, curiosity, responsibility, and yes, fear versus love. Because I've realized being too normal might actually be the most rebellious thing you can be online. I'm a Gryffindor according to the official Harry Potter sorting quiz, and that means being brave, or choosing love over fear. Again, not all situations in life can be simplified to that, but I'd say most of them can be, to some extent. I didn't stick with karate when I was 8. I chose fear and missed out on opportunities. But this year, I stuck with something better, my own trajectory. I chose courage to focus on what I can control, and I chose love by going out to the city and going places I enjoy and having fun rather than just sitting at home frustrated with my inability to access the bathroom or the kitchen while my mom is cleaning it, which she has absolutely the right to do so, by the way. But again, I can only control myself. Maybe the algorithm doesn't reward normies as much, but life does. I'd rather have a year of steady growth and real change than go viral for hating everything. This was year 1. For year 2, I'm choosing courage and love over fear. And that's exactly how I like it. And if that offends you, I don't think this is the channel for you. So on that note, I'm going to wrap it up here for the video. You let me know in the comments down below what you think about all this, whether I'm oversimplifying this, or if you agree that I'm a little too middle of the road. Be sure to also give this video a like, subscribe for cultural commentary and rants from a man caught between generations. And last but certainly not least, feel free to join me at the Zillennial Nexus Point Discord. Link will be in the description below. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you soon.